This is a video about this E130 helicopter, and I can sum it up with this phrase: love, hate, and acceptance. This is the first Eachine product that I bought, the E119, and I really like this helicopter. I compared it to the V911S from WL Toys. Both are good helicopters, but this one was just slightly better, and it flies great. Very agile, very fast. You can fly it in a little bit of wind. Just a super helicopter. I am not picking on Eachine products. In fact, I really like them. I bought that helicopter, then later I got some of these airplanes. I have the Mustang and the Corsair and this F-22 Raptor, and I'm very happy with these as well. Now, just a quick disclaimer, I am not an expert on helicopters. In fact, my skill level is about where this helicopter is here. A flybarless, fixed pitch helicopter that's pretty agile, takes a little bit of skill to fly, but that's about where my skill level is. Just recently, I decided to try my hand at the collective pitch helicopters and acquired a few of those, including this 160. Okay, first a little bit about this helicopter. Again, the love phase. When I first saw this come out, there was only a few people had reviewed it already, and it looked like a pretty decent little helicopter. A little bit different than your regular 4-channel, with the controller being a little more like a game controller versus like a standard helicopter controller. But again, was very excited because it looked a lot like a larger version of the E119. Very similar in layout, where you put the battery, everything like that. So I had hopes that it was going to be just a larger version of the E119, and the E119 is a very good helicopter. All right, let's do just a kind of a quick comparison to the E119. Again, I was hoping it would be just a larger version of this helicopter. So you can see it is a larger helicopter than this one. It's taller, longer. Again, similar in layout. The battery just goes in underneath here, easy access. This one takes a 1S LiPo, whereas this has a 2S LiPo, plugs in right there. Just another perspective of the differences in size. Here's a comparison of the controllers. Again, this is your more traditional controller, whereas this looks more like a video game type controller. Okay, a size comparison to some of the other helicopters I have. This is the FX067 and this is the FX071. This one is very similar to the V912, so this one's probably similar to the V913. And of course the E119. Okay, a quick comparison to the E160. Okay, I've got them lined up landing gear to landing gear, nose to nose, and they're pretty much the same size. You can see the tails are the same length to the tail, pretty much the same height. So again, very similar in dimensions. Okay, on to the love portion. As I explained before, it's a very friendly helicopter to fly with its automatic takeoff and landing button, as well as the altitude hold. It makes it really easy to fly. Also, it says it has 15 minutes of flight time, so that's a lot of flight time for a helicopter. You can get this in a variety of configurations with a number of batteries, and so I got this one with 4 batteries, as well as the price isn't really all that bad for a helicopter of this size. Okay, now to the hate portion. I believe the biggest problem this helicopter has is its overactive gyro or stabilization system. It really is quite the nanny that just cuts the fun once the fun starts. So let me explain. If you've seen other videos of this flying, it'll do this crazy whoa, hit the brake things. You'll be flying forward, picking up speed, and then all of a sudden it'll just kind of stop and then rock back. Again, you can see lots of videos of it doing that. It's rather annoying, especially because you just begin to get good forward momentum and this thing will just say, nope, that's it, we're stopping, and even that, it yanks it back pretty hard. In fact, if you're not careful, it'll yank it back so hard, it'll almost tilt it vertical, and then there's an automatic shutoff once it hits about this angle, and then this thing just falls out of the sky and crashes. It's happened to me twice. And one thing I did to test it is I held onto this helicopter, throttled it up, and literally tilted it. And when it got to about this angle, it automatically cuts off. It's kind of probably like a safety feature so this thing can't flip over and then just go completely crazy. Again, it does it to itself. You'll be moving forward pretty quickly. This will yank itself back and occasionally will yank itself so hard back, it rocks back like that, shuts off, falls out of the sky, and then that's when damage occurs. I broke the landing gear, I've cracked the canopy, I even bent the tail boom just ever so slightly. I did bend it back, so it's not really noticeable. But again, even on high rates, it doesn't matter. It still won't let it fly. The stabilization system in this just doesn't let it fly to what its potential is. This thing does have the potential to fly really well, but that stabilization system just shuts down the fun right when it starts. Another thing to hate about this helicopter, due to that stabilization system, is trying to fly this if there's any wind. Now it'll fly in, say, a very gentle breeze, say maybe 1 to 2 miles an hour. But once it starts to get close to maybe a 5 mile an hour wind, which isn't much for helicopters to fly in, especially the smaller ones, this one just loses the battle very quickly. And that's due to that stabilization system. It doesn't allow it to fly forward when there's too much of a wind. It'll literally just kind of stop it and keep pushing it back and away from you. So again, flying in even a light wind is pretty much something you can't do with this, which is sad because this is a larger style helicopter, not one of the smaller ones like the E119. And so really this isn't meant to fly indoors in a small space other than just hovering it around. It does need some room to fly around. Now, when there's no wind, this thing does fly around pretty nice. But again, if there's any amount of wind up to a certain level that causes that stabilization system to kick in, then you're just fighting a losing battle. One more thing kind of adding to the hate is if you watch videos of the E160 fly, you can tell that this size helicopter has really good potential. Granted, this one has the brushless motors and the collective pitch. But again, if that stabilization system were to be able to be toned down a bit, you can tell that it could fly. Maybe not as fast as this one, but this one does have the potential to being a decently quick and agile helicopter of its size, as witnessed by watching videos of this. Hopefully they'll come out with a E130 version 2 where you can either tone that stabilization system down or maybe they recalibrate it to where it's not so intrusive. Now on to the acceptance portion of the video. Again, this thing fought with me numerous times when I was trying to fly it, similar to how I try to fly the E119. But after a while, I began to accept what this helicopter is actually good at. What this helicopter is actually good at is being a very beginner-friendly helicopter to someone trying to learn to fly a 4-channel helicopter. Again, what makes it easy to fly is that automatic takeoff and landing, as well as the altitude hold. So you don't have to worry about keeping it in the air while you're guiding it around. Again, it flies really well when there's no wind. When there's no wind, the potential of this does start to come out. A good example of this is I finally had a windless evening and I took it out. And how it flies well is if you let it basically kind of fly itself. So here's what to do to enjoy flying this helicopter. First off, let it do its own thing initially for takeoff and landing. Again, use the automatic takeoff to get in the air, then use your throttle to get to the level you want and let it stay there. And then instead of moving your stick forward for forward flight, use the trim settings. Start trimming the forward button to the point where it's moving at a pace that you're comfortable with. Maybe that could be slow, maybe that'd be kind of a medium speed, but just use that to get it going forward to the point where it starts doing that whoa thing, and then back it off. And that's going to be kind of your maximum speed. And then it's a pleasure to fly because it's within its settings basically. So that's how I've enjoyed flying this when there was hardly any wind. Again, I just set the trim forward to where it was moving at a decent speed. Not super fast, but enough to have fun. And then I just guided it around with the sticks. Turning it, even banking it while turning. And then it flew pretty good. And it didn't really do the whoa thing too much because I was letting it handle the forward momentum where its limit was. So once you understand who the target audience is for this helicopter, you can learn to accept it for what it is. This is just a larger, beginner-friendly 4-channel helicopter. I'll end this video with my recommendation of whether you should buy this helicopter or not. Well, that will depend on the question of what are you looking for. If you're looking for a helicopter that flies similar to the E119, then no, you will not be happy with this. I would, however, recommend this to someone who is beginning to fly 4-channel helicopters or is moving up to a different size. This would be a really friendly helicopter to start flying helicopters with. If you got some flying experience, you should be able to get this helicopter and enjoy it a lot. In fact, the other night, there was hardly any wind. I took this outside, flew it like I had recommended with the trim settings, and just had a good time just buzzing it around. It wasn't going super fast, but it was quick enough to have some fun with. And again, it's a great helicopter for someone learning to fly helicopters. So I wouldn't recommend it for someone who's looking for something quick and agile, but if you're looking for something that's kind of a gentle flyer and very user-friendly, this will be a great choice. Thanks for watching.